Vitya Diaries Chapter 17, Curious Georgi. Georgi already knew that there was someone in my life. He'd caught me texting Nico on multiple occasions, but I'd always been quick to hide my phone and keep it to myself. But he knew I had a crush. He didn't know who they were, where they lived, or that they were a boy, and I wasn't about to tell him. I had to be careful. I didn't even tell him what was going on until we were at his house the next day. Just relationship advice, top secret, and he took it to heart. We met for practice at the rink, and I went home with him. His parents were thrilled to have me and Mokuchin over for the night. My aunt and uncle were glad to have me out of the house. But don't forget that we need to return the favor, Vitya. I know. Georgi waited patiently all the way through dinner, only casting curious glances my way, and when it was finally time, ushered us upstairs to show me stuff on his computer. Yeah, he had his own computer in his room. Lucky. I sat on his bed, hugging my knees to my chest, while he perched with a chair in reverse, gripping the headrest. One of his dogs, a Chioni terrier by the name of Draco, was playing tug-of-war with Mokuchin on the floor. Moku liked playing, and I'd taken his vest off, so he was off duty for the rest of the night. "Can you tell me now?" Georgi asked. "Don't worry, no one will come up here. They're going to be watching their shows for a couple of hours at least." I turned away from the open door. "So you know how I've been texting someone? Your crush?" "Yeah." "Yes? And?" He scooted closer, the wheels of his office chair squeaking on the plastic floor mat. "Well, they're coming to visit next month from Moscow." "Ooh, a long-distance relationship. And they want to go to dinner. Your first date." Georgi wiped a fake tear from his eye, smiling. "I'm so proud of you, Viktor." I rubbed the back of my neck, trying to suppress the hot anger that his pity broiled up in me. "What do I do?" "Oh, I have so much good advice for you. Don't worry." "What do you have planned?" "Your first date is really important, so you need to make a good impression." "Ah, that's okay. I can help you with it, too." "Well, it's more like they're coming with their mom and I'm meeting up with them." He blinked twice before his expression completely deflated. "So it's not really a date, is it?" "It's not a date. They'll be here for a few days." "Maybe I could." "You need to ask her." "Do it right away before she gets other plans." I pulled my legs closer. "I don't know if that'd work. I don't want to scare her away." "How do I even know if she likes me?" "You have to be bold, Viktor. But I don't want to mess this up, Georgi. I talk to her every day. I can't afford to lose that." Mokuchin dropped the toy, letting Draco have it, and trotted over to the bed, tail wagging. The other dog cocked his head to one side as if he couldn't believe that someone would just abandon a win out of concern for someone. Georgi frowned, sitting up straight. "You don't make mistakes if you don't do anything. If you want this girl, Viktor, you'll have to do something." He was right about that. So far my tactics hadn't worked. I sent photos. "Oh, from your photo shoot?" "Yeah." "Showing off your assets?" He lifted a suggestive brow. "Just like Felix did." I groaned. "Just like I always did when he would." "Yeah, I guess you could say that." "And?" "That's when they told me they were coming." Georgi asked me to start at the beginning, from the very first time that we met, and catch him up to the present, which I summed up as carefully as I could without giving anything too incriminating away while reciting texts that I could remember. I almost slipped too many times, but Georgi was so wrapped up in the drama that he didn't seem to notice. So Nico became the mysterious girl of my dreams that I was supposed to win over, and Georgi was going to help me do it. He said that if I didn't have my first date, first kiss, and first boyfriend status by the end of the visit, he wasn't Georgi Popovich Jr. world champion. Which, hey, way to rub it in. But I took some comfort in his confidence. I'd been right about him. Where Felix was too straight to be of help with Nico, Georgi was bordering on gay despite being a ladies' man. "We have a few weeks to work with, so we're going to get you totally prepared." To start, you can get her warmed up by flirting more and more through text so she is thinking about you romantically by the time she gets here. Then you can start putting on the moves. The moves? By the texts. It sounds like she's the mean, teasing type, so you need to counter it by feigning disinterest. Pretend you don't care. Act cool and confident. Don't show any emotion, no matter how much the comments hurt. That didn't sound right. Nico wasn't mean or teasing. How is that going to help? Reverse psychology. Trust me, it works. I didn't but nothing I'd tried so far except for photos and being unavailable had worked. So maybe Georgi knew what he was talking about. Right. Look, Victor. If you want me to mold you into a lady-killing machine, you have to have faith in me and follow all of my guidelines. I groaned. I was older than him. I really was. Even just by one day did I really have to put up with this? My phone vibrated on the bed between us with a new message, and I could already see that it was from N. Y, which had my insides squirming like a mouse squeezing out of grasping hands. Yes, I would put up with it. I really needed his help. Georgi nodded at the phone. What did she say? I checked the message, cupping a hand around it. It felt wrong to call Nico a girl, but it'd be worse if he knew I was talking about crushing on him in such a gay way to a straight boy. She wants to know what I'm up to right now. Don't text back right away, Victor. Be strong. Don't you know anything about romance? Apparently not. I set the phone in my lap. Okay, you need a primer. The primer ended up being watching movies in his den once his parents were done, which might have been terrible except that there was popcorn and dogs all over. But watching Georgi swoon over the ladies and all the sappy parts was hilarious, and I loved dogs. Plus homemade popcorn was really great. We started with kidnapping, Caucasian style, which was a staple even though bride napping wasn't applicable at all. Then moved on to the classic office romance. Halfway through, though, I started to fall asleep. It didn't matter that it was still light outside, unless I was running around. My body wanted to stick to its schedule. We went back to his room and got ready for bed. I got comfy in my sleeping bag on his floor, Mokuchin, Draka, and Lukic around me. Dogpile. The best. I could have lived on Georgi's floor and been happy. The curtains on his window blocked out most of the white night, leaving just enough light to see the outline of hand on the edge of his bed. I closed my eyes, listening to all the sounds of breathing from the dogs and from my rinkmate, and sighed. It was nice. I hated being alone. This was so much better. The warmth of furry bodies pressed close, snuffly noses and huffs. A roommate over yonder, tired from running around. Hey, Victor. MMH. I'm really glad that you don't actually hate me. The sleep that had almost taken its hold jostled free, and I blinked up at him. Awake again. Huh? You know, he continued. When we moved here, I was kind of nervous. Leaving all of my friends, my parents transferring offices, us changing schools. It was scary. But I was excited, too. St. Petersburg is so much different than Siberia, and Coach Feltzman recruited me. That's a lot of pressure, but means I get to have you and Sasha the Sasha Markov as my rink mates. How cool is that? My fingers curled into Mokuchin's fur. I didn't know how to respond. I hadn't thought of it that way. I guess, I said, quiet and unhelpful. Then I got here and we had that rough patch. I feared the worst, but here we are, having a sleepover. Mokuchin licked my neck and my chin, doing his job even though I could tell he was tired. I rubbed behind his ears, and hoped my sleepy hum would count as enough of a response. It must have, because Georgi yawned and rolled over a moment later. Anyway, I'm really glad that you asked me for help, Victor. It bothered me that he could bear his feelings so easily without resentment. Especially with the kind of stuff he was saying. Was he really sincere, or was this an act to guilt me now that I was vulnerable and in need? Maybe I'd been too hard on him, though. He'd been so willing to help me. Hadn't pushed about Nico's identity, and had convinced his parents to let Mokuchin come without any questions my way. That meant a lot. I listened as his breathing began to even out, apparently given up on waiting for me to reply. Hey, Georgi. He rolled back toward me and peeked over the edge of the bed, rubbing at his nose with a sleepy smile. Yeah? Did you really see a tiger out in the wild? He blinked hard, then his mouth twisted to a frown. Why would I lie about that? I'll believe you. I just wanna know if you were making it up. Yes, I really saw a tiger, Victor. He sniffed, and rolled onto his back. The silence settled again. That's so cool, I said, and I meant it. Yeah? I love tigers. They're magnificent creatures. He moved back onto his elbow to look down at me again, and I grinned up at him. I go to the zoo every chance I get, I said. They have a couple of tigers. They're so pretty. I dream about breaking into their cage and setting them free. I haven't been to the zoo here yet. The Leningrad? That's dumb. What's wrong with you? I laughed to show that I was teasing. I haven't had anyone to go with, though. That gives me an idea. He snapped his finger. You've never been on a date before, right? We've been over this. So let's go to some practice locations and you can get some experience in dating before the big event. Whoa, wait, are you talking about going on fake dates with you? He laughed so hard he had to hit his pillow. Victor, I'm not your French friend. It's just for practice. We could go to the zoo and to restaurants, movies and shopping, show you proper etiquette for dates. I probably could have set on fire from how embarrassed I was about the whole thing at that very moment. Fake dates with a straight guy who was also my rink mate and rival? I don't know. Besides, it's not like you never get out of Vaganova, right? And you don't want to be a bad tour guide for your lady friend. Groaning, I buried my face in Mokuchin's fur. Fine. But Mokuchin's coming as my +1, not you. Whatever makes your crow fly, Victor. Good night. Good night. Georgi was a nice guy. Really, he was kind of a prince. Not my prince, but definitely a prince for someone, I could tell. Why, so you're having sleepovers at your enemies now? Me? Well, you know what they say about that, right? Why, that you have the hots for him? I knew it. Me? No, you have to know your enemy like you know yourself. Haven't you ever read Sun Tzu? Why, when would I have read The Art of War? Me? Literally all of your epic fantasy books have war. I thought it'd be a topic of interest. Why, I guess, but I'm not going to start a war myself. Me? It applies to real life, too. Why? How so? Me? No. Because love is a battlefield, Nico. And I'm going to conquer your heart. Me? With stuff. Why? Sure, Miska. Nico explained that Tetya Olia's conference was from Thursday to Sunday, and they would be going home early Monday morning. They wanted me to join them for dinner on Friday, and that there might be time for Nico to see me again that weekend. Why? It depends on the schedule. Why? I'm not really attending the conference, but I get to eat for free because I'm helping my mum. Why? And the hotel suite is supposed to be really nice. Me? That sounds cool. Don't think about going to his room and the making out with him. Why? Yeah, it should be nice for catching up on my reading. Why? No one to bother me. Me? Haha, right, smile. It would be tough competition. Me against Nico's alone time with his books. I had to make a good impression. I could probably get Nico to agree to hang out with me for one day, at least for a few hours, if I came up with something really, really interesting. But it would have to count. That's okay, Georgi said. We'll just go through all the options in St. Petersburg, and I'll help you narrow it down. That's a lot of fake dates. I looked up from the popsicle his mum had insisted I take. We were sitting in his backyard so the dogs could chase each other around, and the sun was high and warm and so nice. St. Petersburg is huge. If you want something enough, you have to work for it, Victor. I sniffed, and looked back at the melting blue as it dripped down toward my arm. So you know when I'm in the senior division that I'm gonna beat you, right? He laughed. If you used some of this competitive spirit for your romantic ventures, I think you just might have a chance. Georgi and I set up a list and a schedule. Since Coach had started doing his skating summer camps, I only had practice twice a week at the rink. But if I took up the workshops at the academy like I'd promised, I'd have an excuse to be downtown the 3 other mornings of the week. So Georgi could meet up with me after I was done and we could run around all afternoon. With Mokuchin's training sessions on top of that, I could conveniently go to Georgi's house on Friday nights when his parents allowed friends without even having to go back for mine or Mokuchin's stuff. It made my aunt really, really happy to have me out of the house more often. We're so glad that you have a friend, Vitya. But don't forget, you promised to invite Gosh over one of these times, too. I said, I will. Yeah, right. We started our adventures with the zoo since it was close to the rink. Mokuchin loved it more than either of us, which was so cute. There were so many people for him to meet, and lots of sights and sounds and smells. I don't know why I hadn't thought of taking him before. He behaved really well on his leash, too. Mokuchin was the best dog, even though he was still young and made the occasional mistake like licking people's hands when they pet him. But he couldn't help it. He just loved everyone. I showed Georgi all of the animals, rattling off the facts that I knew, which were many. I'd been coming to the zoo my whole life, and Georgi chimed in with his advice and critiques and the stuff that he knew about romance, and animals, and everything else, because I guess he was an expert on the whole universe. We had those in Siberia, too. At Novosibirsk. I'd heard of the Novosibirsk Zoo before, and not just 50 times in the past hour from Georgi. I'd never been there, but it was supposed to be world-renowned. Leningrad Zoo wasn't that fancy, but it was my zoo. I scowled at him. Pay attention, or I won't show you the tigers. Sorry. That was a lie. I would have shown him the tigers, anyway. They were sleeping in the shade when we got there, with bars of sunlight on their inky stripes. I swooned, and Georgi did, too. Oh, they're beautiful, he cried, clutching his chest. I swear. He was so dramatic. So gay. I know. He nodded his agreement, then stepped back to look the enclosure over. Do you think? Nope. They're stuck. Tragic. It was. But Georgi feeling the same way made me like him more. And it proved that it didn't matter who you were. Tigers were awesome. We stayed until closing, wandering between exhibits and getting photos with our cell phones. I took notes on occasion with dictation from Georgi's assessment on certain spots' romantic qualities, but mostly just enjoyed being outside. The statue at the entrance was our last stop, with me leaned against it, notebook in hand, Mokuchin at my feet. Georgi stood back and nodded thoughtfully. What do you think? I asked, looking up at the giant stone lion behind me. Is this a good spot? You could use some good pickup lines. Say you'll be the king in her life. I groaned. That was the last thing I wanted. That sounds too much like Sasha. I thought I was the expert here. He folded his arms. Isn't that right? I flushed. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Still, I didn't think Nico would appreciate a line like that. I'll forgive you this time. Now let's go find something to eat. What cafes are nearby? That was another problem. I had some money saved up, sure, but it wasn't much, and if I used it all pawling around with Georgi, I might not have anything left for Nico. In my sweetest fantasies, Nico would be taking me on the date, but I didn't know how it was going to work if he didn't do the asking, and I wasn't exactly the classic definition of a Russian girl, either. Like, at all. Cause I was both. How did dating etiquette work in that case? Who was supposed to ask? Who was supposed to pay? I may have been a princess, but this was getting really, really complicated really, really quickly. It was probably one of those bridges I'd just have to cross when I got to it. I spent my time split between Georgi's and my relatives, running back and forth across St. Petersburg with Mokuchin day in, day out. I worked on different dance styles, refining ballet techniques and building strength, and convincing one of my teachers to work with me on the Hopak as my summer project, which tied directly into my short program practice. I was going to have to nail all of the elements of the Cossack style if I had any hope of translating it to the ice without getting myself killed. Coach was surprised at my choice, especially since I hadn't picked a song to go with it yet, but he had some ideas for how to help me modify the steps for safety. That was something that he was always really good at, even if he wasn't really good at talking feelings. Ever since I got Mokuchin, we hadn't really talked much at all outside of practice, but that was probably because he was busy, and I was busy, too. Really busy. The appetite will come when you eat, Georgi's mom said, putting more food in front of me. Go on, Vitya. My plate had too much food on it. Way too much. But Georgi's family really wanted to fatten me up for some reason. Maybe to make me less competitive, or out of pity, or just being a good host? Probably that one. And they were great hosts. Thank you, Tetya Polya. Of course. Anytime. She was so nice. She was a really good cook, too. And not a herring in sight. Georgi grinned at me from across the table. I took Georgi on a walking tour of the canals, working out all of the sore muscles from practice that morning. Maybe it wasn't the best idea since my legs were already killing me, but Mokuchin was so excited about being out in the sunshine that it made it all worth it. Do you ever get tired? Georgi asked, watching me instead of the water. Huh? Dancing every day, all day. I dunno. I guess. We'd been walking for a really long time by that point. But winding around the summer gardens was the best part. Plus the canals were free, which was in my budget. And walking meant talking. That was good for me and Nico. A good date. Do you ever think about being a ballet dancer instead of a skater? Not really. Maybe in moments where I have a lapse in sanity. I looked back at him, then gave Mokuchin a little more lead so he'd pull me forward, putting distance between us. I hopped up to the edge of the bridge and peered over the edge, looking. Why is that? I mean, you do so much dancing, 'cause it's just not me. But look, Georgi. I pointed straight down at the little ledge beneath us, waiting for him to join me. It's Chizukpaizik. He looked down at the tiny stone bird statue and then back at me with a puzzled grin. What there? They say he got drunk and fell down there, I explained. So don't do that. Georgi turned back to the siskin. I wonder if he was heartbroken. Maybe. I fished a coin out of my backpack. But they say if you can get some money on his ledge, it'll bring you good luck. Luck in love? I dunno. Couldn't hurt. The more you give, the better the luck you're supposed to have. We should visit an ATM. It took a few tries, but we both got some money safely at Isaac's feet. Then it was off to take the long walk around the other side, back toward the next major rail station. Then he went east and I went south. Second place, make sure to tell me if she texts you. Me, I will. The Hermitage Museum had free entry for students, so that was also on the big list of possible spots to take Nico. Plus the square was just amazing and a perfect opportunity for photos. We went after skating practice, and God I was tired. Are you up to this? Georgi asked. Yeah. Your short program looks intense. I shrugged. He wasn't wrong. It's going to be something the world's never seen. Okay, well, we can just take it easy. Geez, Georgi, who do you think I am? No one ever built muscle, won finals, or conquered empires without a little exhaustion. I forced a little more spring in my step. It seemed to work, because Georgi changed his focus from me to the hedges that lined the building. Whoa, just look at all these cats. Mokyuchin, what do you think? Mokyuchin, sitting obediently at my feet from where we waited in the queue to get in, had noticed the cats in the hedge but was simply sniffing toward them, tail giving a tiny little wiggle like a nervous hand wave. He wanted to be their friend. We went through the museum, but I'd already been through it 100 times. Mokyuchin hadn't, of course. But there weren't even any cats in the actual galleries, so he just stayed at my side and looked kind of put out by how many people stared at me for bringing a dog in. What was Nico going to think about Mokyuchin? He already knew about the vest, but if he knew the extent of it. The idea of not having Mokya with me during a potential date, though, was 10 times worse. I needed him, and he did good. He did so good, especially for being as young as he was. By the time I got home, I was totally beat. I showered again, had dinner with my aunt and uncle, and went to bed. I heard them talking with my door ajar, which I liked to do in case Mokyuchin needed to wander, discussing how relieved they were that I was staying busy. He's finally got a friend, my aunt whispered, and a good one, too. I think that Ghosh is a good influence. Perhaps some of his charm will rub off on our Vitya. I hope so. That poor boy. Why? They love your rival. Me? Yeah. I think they want me to be more like him. Why? I hate that. Why? I hear that all the time about me and my brothers. Why? They always want me to be like them. No matter what. Why? They can do no wrong. Me? Hey, yeah, right. Why? Look, I don't make the rules. Why? And it looks like you can't even escape it despite being an only child. Why? Parents are the worst. Me? They aren't my parents, Nico. Why? Unbelievable.